Hi, how are you, Angela?
Great. How are you today?
Doing good, thank you. The weather's nice, finally warm
Yeah.
here in Toronto.
Yes, I was going to say same here in Indianapolis. It is
Yeah.
sunny and hot today, so I'll take it.
Yes, yeah. Weather matters, I think, for our mood and so on.
It it definitely does. There's something about the sun shining and being able to get outside and what it does for you. So,
Yes,
agreed.
yes, totally. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be our guest for the podcast. Looking forward
Yeah.
to, chatting with you today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So, thank you for the invite.
Yes, of course. So we met each other in Chicago, I believe, for the first time, our company and you. I wasn't there in person, unfortunately, but I know Joy and Meme from our team met you and they enjoyed our conversations with you. And
Yeah.
based on your role, what you do, the impact that you have for your org, we thought it would be great to have you join us and continue the conversation.
Yeah.
So wanted to ask you to do a quick intro,
Sure.
what you do and how you got to the field of internal communications.
Oh gosh. Okay. How much time do we have? No. Yes. So, my title is Senior Manager of Internal Communications, work at Patrick Industries. And I will say I'm fairly new to a formal communications role. So that has happened over about the past 6 months or so. But I have years and years of experience of working through comms. Prior to joining, kind of getting into the internal comm space, I've been doing organizational change management. And so, if you know anything about change management, you know that is heavily reliant on communications. And so, I have done a lot of work with internal communications, just not necessarily sitting at that corporate communications level, but I've had a lot of interaction experience working with corporate communications over the years, just through the organizational change management space that I've been in. So, yeah.
How you got into change management, field of change
Well, that's also an
is very
interesting.
exciting in my opinion, given what I do.
Yeah. I mean, it's been, gosh, I don't know, a while now. So probably I've been in doing change management, 7, 8 years now, but it's kind of a funny story. So I was working in customer service. I was, in a utility and I oversaw our, communications and training, quality assurance, workforce management for our utilities. And someone asked me like, "Hey, we've got this job in change management. You would be great at it." And I was like, "I don't even know what that is." And then I looked at the job description, I talked to them about the role, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have been practicing change management all of these years at my space and just didn't have like that formal title, right? Like with the importance of communications and training and all of the changes that I was, implementing in the utility space that I was in. I really was practicing change management, just didn't know it and didn't necessarily have that formal training and toolkit to rely on. So I kind of jumped at the chance to do something new and really fell in love in the space. And the time that I've spent has been amazing in change management. And I have then just started to gravitate more towards, gosh, there's something about this internal comms and the impact that you can have organizationally and not just on a specific project. And so that's kind of how I got interested and excited in moving into the internal comms role.
Love that how you put it there, not just the project base, but more broadly, organization wide, the
Mhm.
impact that you could have. You could see that, right? The impact
Yes.
that I can create. So,
Mhm.
speaking of impact, what would be the proudest moment in your career in either change management formal role or a comms role? What would that be?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. I will go back to my last role. We implemented a full suite ERP implementation to 30,000 plus people during COVID. And I will say that is not something that a lot of people can say that they have ever done. And so it was in a healthcare system. So again, during COVID, all of the unique challenges that it brought.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was about a 5-year project. And so just, being able to be a part of that from the beginning and where you thought you were going and how things started till the end and getting through go live and trying to drive that adoption and supporting people through all of that change, not only what people were going through professionally, but personally too. I think being able to recognize that that was the time that no one has ever faced in their lives. And so it just, added a new level of, just a new level and a new factor that we had to think about when we were, developing our change plans and supporting our people. So that was, I think probably the biggest and biggest accomplishment that I've had in my career, being a part of that change.
Change is hard, right?
Yes. 100. Yeah. It is. And everyone handles it differently, right? And you bring your own personal experiences to change. How things have gone before for change, whether it's again personally, professionally, but everyone handles and change differently. And I think that is a unique thing about, the OCM world is it's not like a one size fits all approach for everyone or for every change or even for every organization, that you have to continually adapt and flex. So I've definitely learned to be very flexible over the years in the OCM space, and being able to adapt based on how things are going and the feedback that you're hearing.
Right. Would that be the most difficult challenge in the space of change management and comms? The how hard change is and how resistant humans are to change, or what has been the most challenging thing?
Oh, one of the things I think that is always challenging in the OCM space is because it is not something that every company has or that every employee even understands what it is. So I think one of the biggest challenges in that role is just getting the buy-in and people understanding the value that you bring in an OCM role. And so I think people, you come on and you're like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you just sitting here like feverishly taking notes or asking me all these questions? Like, you're slowing me down. But I think at the end, in my experience, like, you could explain to people what you do and why you're there. But I think once they actually see you support a change and the difference that it can make and the role you play, that's where I've seen a lot of success. And in the company where I'm at now, I was the first organizational change person they've had. And so I, faced that, right? Like, of course, leadership, a few people were bought into it because, I wouldn't have had a job if they were, but it's how do you get the rest of the organization to understand, and was quickly able to support a change that, the HR team, they were kind of freaking out about, like, oh my gosh, this is going to disrupt everything. It touches every single employee, 10,000 plus people. And I was like, we got this. I'll help you. Let's sit down. Let's talk about what's happening. We developed, the change plan, executed it. And they're like, I get it now. And I want you on everything I do.
Yes. What would be the change curve, typically based on my limited knowledge on that front compared to the depth of
Mhm.
knowledge that you bring in, for sure. But according to my knowledge, there's curve. First, there's excitement.
Mhm.
When something shiny comes into play, then yay, exciting. And then there's the curve goes down a bit. The excitement dies down, and it is something new that I need to learn, or new thing, change, resistance, and then slowly it back goes up again, going through curve. Based on what I know, do you have any tips for folks who are going through change, whether it is at their professional life, in their professional
Mhm.
life, or
Mhm.
personal life, right? When they hit the rock bottom before they
Yeah.
go up again. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think a couple things, first, I think change is not always exciting, right? There's not always that excitement curve that you get. Sometimes people, it's dread all the way.
Mhm.
And that's okay, right? That's a natural reaction to change. I think being able to, for me, bringing people along in change, not just this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing but how do you involve people in change to help get that buy-in? So, really the voice of the customer, here's what we're doing. What do you think about it? Like, and you can't get to every single person, right? Especially depending on the nature of the change, but maybe it's a change agent group that you use to represent your population to get feedback. What are you hearing? How do we need to incorporate what you're hearing and seeing into our change plans? And so I think it is really about listening to people. At the end of the day, I think people just want to feel heard, and that their voice matters. And so can't always do everything to address the concerns, right? That's not realistic, but at least give people an opportunity or a way to feel like they've been heard and seen throughout the process. And again, it might not change anything, but at least they know they have that opportunity. And that's even better if we can make some changes and incorporate their feedback too, right? And then you can be able to take some people maybe that were dissenters and negative about the project, but being able to then turn them into advocates. And so again, I think it's all about just trying to give people the voice in the project so that doesn't feel like change is happening to them. They're a part of the change.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that look on your face.
Yes. Because who, as any human being, right, who likes things just done to them, right, or said
Right.
to them? But if
Right.
they're part of it,
Mhm.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
You'll be much more receptive. So, yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Have you applied this learning from your professional life to in your personal life, managing to?
Yes, I have done a lot of change management trainings, and so I always draw on this one example. My son, luckily he's not home from school or around to hear this story, but I like to use the example of my son. He's 13 now, but he was probably 7 or 8 at the time, and he would constantly lose everything. Like he'd go to school with a code and a lunchbox, and he would come home with none of those things. So I was like, well, this isn't working. Like, I can't replace your coat every week or your lunchbox. And so, like, all right, we've got to make a change here. So we talk about, what the problem is and like, what can you do about it? So I was using my ADKAR model, if you're familiar with that at all. So using all the different phases of ADKAR. And finally, I was like, all right, well, none of this is working. Like, we've talked about why it's important, what you need to do. And finally, I was like, you know what? The reinforcement piece. You're going to have to start paying for whatever you don't bring home and you lose. And you know what? Like he didn't forget anything ever again. So yes, I've used ADKAR on my son. He didn't know it, but I was like, no, what are we going to do? It might have been a negative reinforcement, but it worked. And he brought home his belongings. So yes,
Speaking of
I've used it.
Yeah, speaking of kid and motherhood,
Yeah.
how have you been balancing, or some people like to use the word harmony more than balance, right?
Mhm.
Between professional life and personal life. What has been your journey like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I think it ebbs and flows, right? There's going to be times where work is more demanding and, you're able to give that. And if it takes a little bit away from the family life, that's okay. Because I know there's going to be times where my family life is a little bit more demanding than work. And I know that work is going to be okay with that because you give that extra effort. And so I think it's just the ebbs and flows of work and making sure that you're in a work environment that is understanding and has that flexibility that values the family and the work life balance harmony. I like that word. I think that's a great way to describe it. And I always try to set time. I need time at the beginning of the day for myself, and I try to find time at the end of the day for myself. So even that means getting up extra early before everyone else is awake. Like getting that me time is also, I think, it's just a great way to clear my head and get ready for the day and, be able to give it my all for family and for work.
I've heard that from a few different people by now. They like to protect their morning time,
Hmm.
how much time they can allocate to the self-care or time with self, whether it's
Yeah.
shower or whatnot, because that has an impact for the rest of the day, the energy level that they have based
Yeah.
on how much they could do with that hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think for me too, I find getting out at lunchtime, um, I'll eat lunch at my desk, but I try to get outside every day for
Perfect.
like 20 to 30 minutes and just it recharges me because I'm, stuck at a desk all day. And so I need to be able to move around and that just gives me a fresh mindset and like energy for the rest of the day to be able to tackle what's coming my way. So I think even just stepping away for a few minutes at lunch is really helpful too.
Yes, totally. The movement heard
Hmm.
somewhere that human's body is not designed to sit still, sit at
Hmm.
desk for these many hours that we typically do.
Yeah, you're
It
right. I
move.
Yeah, 100%. I've heard somewhere that like sitting is like the new smoking. I mean, it's not good for you, right? So you've got to be intentional about moving because if I'm not,
Mhm.
taking care of myself, then I can't be good for anyone else, I always say. So I think that self-care is really important for yourself.
The season of life, you mentioned that things change, right? Things fluctuate. It's not exactly the same all the time between work and personal life. The best parenting advice that I heard when I was pregnant was nothing is permanent. You are
Mm.
gonna go through many different phases
Mhm.
as you give birth and your child grows. It's both good and bad thing.
Mhm.
Good thing because whatever hard things that you're gonna go through, it's not gonna be forever. It's gonna pass.
Yep.
But at the same time, all the good things too, all the joy that each season brings, it also
Yep.
doesn't stay with you forever.
I agree. I mean, that's a change in itself, right? You think about it
Yes.
like, yeah, the seasons of life change. That's a change. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, life. But what are some things that you are excited about, either in your professional life, some new
Yeah.
exciting projects coming up, or in your personal life?
Yeah, things I'm excited about. Well, we were talking at the beginning, definitely excited about this weather. So
Yes.
that's always good. That brings in just a new perspective to things and a new excitement, I think. Let's see, professionally. I mean, there's definitely a lot going on. I mean, again, getting settled and to this new role and just trying to figure out what that looks like at my organization. It's a new role. And so just trying to navigate how do you build out that internal communications role. And I will say the role's not what I expected for based on my interactions with other corporate communications, but those have been established corporate communications teams. And those organizations have been more mature. So I was foolish, I think, in thinking, oh yeah, it'll look like that, but it's brand new here. And so
Yeah.
that's exciting to help build out that capability at the organization. And so I think for me, excitement has been, but where can I find those quick wins? Where can I show the value that an internal comms role can bring to the overall employee experience? And so I think that's been really exciting, just, kind of building out the role and while challenging, right? But I think finding those ways to demonstrate the value and maybe differently than what I thought.
Hmm.
I think one other thing that I'm super excited about, and it's related professionally, but not related, is just technology and the AI space and like what that can do for us. When we were at the conference in Chicago, I heard someone say this is like the worst AI that we're ever going to use. And I was like, wow, that simple statement is so powerful because I am like blown away at how much AI can help elevate, speed up the work that I'm doing, be a thought partner for me without having, to drag in another coworker. It's like that other coworker for me is like, hey, I'm thinking about this, give me some ideas, or what am I missing? It's like another teammate for me now. So I'm really excited about just continuing to explore technology and how to advance the work that I'm doing using those tools that we have now.
Yes. What tools currently do you use within your org
Yeah.
to enable the two-way communications?
Yeah. Oh gosh. With like the organization,
Hmm.
well, we don't do a lot of communications. It's kind of a brand new role. So we are pretty reliant on email, newsletters. Those would probably be the two biggest ways. We are working on exploring like a new intranet, which is a project I'm also very excited about just because of the impact that can have on every single team member if we get it right. We have a large population that is deskless, frontline team members that don't have email. So they don't get, when we send out emails, they don't get them. They don't get the newsletter. So it's very challenging to find ways to engage and interact with them. So the intranet, I think, will be a huge project and a huge win if we can get it right.
We hear that quite often from customers and organizations that we work with. Many companies out there have like frontline employees don't necessarily work on the desk with computer, but reaching
Mm-hmm.
them is also critical, not just the desk workers, but frontline workers too. And with
Mm-hmm.
the engagement and disengagement, the rate
Yeah.
of that is quite eye-opening these days. So yeah, leaders like you definitely look into different tools and different ways to reach their all employees and
Mm-hmm.
engage them in the best way possible.
Yeah. And I think it's exciting to think about, like, again, leveraging like kind of the AI space. I think it's really important. Again, we talked about like every employee is different. They bring a unique experience and have unique needs. And so I don't know. I don't know that this exists yet, but how, is there an internet out there can almost be personalized for every employee, leveraging like some of that new technology, leveraging AI. So you really are meeting employees where they're at and delivering what's important to them, not just, what we think is important or this is important to the masses. So this is what you get. But how could you really provide like a tailored, unique experience? So again, I don't know if that's out there, but I think that would be amazing to be able to provide that truly like unique, personalized experience for every employee.
Yes. Heard somewhere again
Yeah.
the whole experience, the because especially during COVID time, the personal shopping experience changed quite a bit,
Mhm.
right? And became a lot more convenient. Existing model had to pivot based on what we the globally went through. And the whole easy experience or convenience and so on that we have in personal life, people want that experience in professional life too.
Exactly. I mean, you think about, yeah, all the experiences, interactions you have with different businesses, like I always, use Amazon, right? Like
Exactly.
you get that personalized, you get the real-time updates, you could track everything, you get the pictures of the where the pack, like you get all the things, or even like you could track your pizza now, right? Like you know where your pizza is exactly at in the process. And I think that, employers and all companies really need to be able to think about that experience for and customers, right? Is how do you deliver that experience that people are having with other businesses that they're interacting with or other companies they're interacting with?
Exactly.
Yeah, you're being compared to all those other things out there. So something we got to pay attention to for sure.
Yes. And to your point earlier, adapt to those changes that are happening around us because we cannot put our heads in the sand and nothing is happening. Things are
Mm.
happening around us and technology
Yes.
space for sure changing quite fast. So keeping up with those and yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. I was at the conference that we were at. I was I guess relieved to find out that how many people were in the same space as us though, of like really not having a great internet or going through that that project itself. It seemed like everyone I talked to was working on that. I was like, "Oh, I guess we aren't as far behind as I thought." So, like you said, I think there's a lot of people kind of working on that and looking at that, and I think that's super important to the employee experience. I mean, in my opinion, it's kind of the front door as to how you get into and look and feel of a company and find the information. So, yeah, I think critical just to the overall employee experience.
So you are a woman leader.
Yes.
I love talking to women in business and women in leadership and hear their stories
Hmm.
and share their stories like in this format, like podcasts and other formats, because there are many young women who aspire to grow their career and step into the next level of leadership and so on. And they want to and need to hear stories from people who went through the journey few years before them.
Yeah.
So if we were to share any story that you would like to share in leadership role, your learnings, both good and bad.
Yeah. Yeah, a few things that come to mind with that because I think being a leader is to me the most important role that I have, whether it is a formal leader or an informal leader. I used to always kind of think, I need the people under me, right? I need those like and I have now realized the power of that informal leadership role and that you can still have just as much influence, if not even more, being an informal leader. I think it sorry that I got sidetracked and got off my train of thought here, but I think a few things that I have learned along my leadership journey is always be true to who you are. I think you can learn a lot from people along the way that you work with, whether it's things that you like, oh, I would love that trait about them, or oh, that is, oh, I want to make sure I don't do that, right? But never lose yourself. Personally, I have worked for some fabulous leaders. And, one time I tried to almost become them and like, ooh, what would they do? What would they think? And I lost myself and my teammates saw that. And, it took someone to pull me and like, hey, You got to like be you. That's why we want you here. And we hired you to be you, not to be that person. And so I think, again, you're going to learn things along the way, but just incorporate that in your own way. Be true to who you are, be your authentic self, because otherwise people will see right through it. So I think that's, advice that I always give to people is don't lose yourself. One of my leaders always would say, bring your whole self to work. And I really like that. I get early in my leadership, I'd be like, we're at work. You check those things at the door. But, again, as you grow in your journey, you're like, no, it's important to be off again at that, I think authenticity, right? Of not only professionally, but personally too. And again, showing up to work with who you are. I think the last thing I will say is the power of believing in people. That can go such a long way. When I look back to the opportunities and, the things that I've accomplished, it's because the people believed in me. So I think that is just something that I take away is that power of belief. It can truly impact someone's career, someone's life. And so I just think always keeping that in mind as well as you grow in your leadership journey is super important. And so I try to do that to my team and the people that are closest to me succeed.
So beautiful. Thank you so
So
much for sharing. Mm.
thank you. I love it. And I just always want to help people and see them succeed. And so I think just, being again,
Mhm.
super important role being a people leader.
Yes, Leading Without Authority, the book by Keith Ferrazzi. I really enjoyed that book. Of being leader doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean that you need to have a big
Mhm.
team of people who report to you.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
The influence that is very much related to change management, right?
Mhm.
How you
Yeah.
influence people without putting power over them.
Right. 100%. I mean, you've got to be able to influence literally entire organizations sometimes with change, right? And so it is that influential direct leadership role that, really does play an important role. And yeah, I've come to learn that while I love personally leading people, that's not what it's about at the end of the day. And I okay in more of that indirect leadership role.
And I believe authenticity
Mhm.
comes with certain level of confidence. Because when I think back my journey so far, when I felt like I have to be somebody else, I need to act like somebody else or show up like somebody else, that really came from lack of confidence and imposter syndrome. Like if I show up as true self,
Mhm.
who's gonna like me or who's gonna approve me, and so on, all that limiting belief in my head. So
Yeah. And I mean, it's okay, right? We're not perfect. Like, I mean, I
nobody
had that
is.
same thing like earlier on in my leadership journey. And you live and you learn. And so I know that was a hard lesson for me to learn, but I've taken that and like I always, check in and make sure I am like being, again, true to myself and not what someone else, thinks I should be or that last person that I worked for. Like, I need to be me.
Yes. When we met during the intro call before this episode recording, I could tell that you have that confidence and authenticity with you. And that really resonated well with me. And the fact that you talk about that as part of your leadership journey and lessons learned, that just solidifies how.
Well,
So
thank you.
thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, again, I think I take leadership as like the greatest responsibility. So,
And
yeah,
privilege, right? Yeah.
it really is. It really is. And just the power that you can have over, helping others. And, so yeah, I do value that a lot. So thank you.
Time flies when we have good conversation. To respect your time,
Yeah.
we'll need to wrap up soon. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you were hoping to cover today?
Gosh, I mean, I feel like we kind of touched it on all, like my little bit of career journey, some wins and leadership. Yeah, I don't think I have any other words of wisdom or nuggets to leave today. I think you've been able to get out what I was hoping to be able to share or, thought we would be able to share. So yeah.
Thank you so much again, Angela, for your time and sharing your stories.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah. I appreciate it. It was great to spend the time with you and yeah, look forward to connecting in the future.
Yes, certainly. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.